Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin, and I'm looking at Marcelo's Seiko Sumo. So this is a blue dive watch. Comes on this silicone strap, and it also comes with a bracelet as well. And beautiful blue sunburst dial. And wow, if you like blue watches, I think this could be the Seiko for you. And this is a limited edition. 1,000 pieces, and even though it's a limited edition, Marcelo, can you buy the watch now?
Yeah, you can buy 10 of them now.
Interesting. Okay, so instead of 1,000, they probably should have made 200, right? All right, so some interesting aspects. Big lume dots. Now, the shape at the 12, what exactly is that? That's interesting. I don't know if I'm crazy about that. If it was a triangle, I'd understand it, but that little, I guess, crack in the middle, crack's not the right word, but that space in the middle, kind of interesting. As far as the chapter ring, the minute markers are on the rehaut, and this is a 120 click bezel?
It's a 120 click bezel. But Austin, let me ask you a question. Does this watch a little bit give a homage for James Cameron Dipsy?
Yes, I was definitely going to bring that up. Now, the green secondhand Divers 200 in green, again, it looks a lot like the Rolex Deep Sea James Cameron, as it's called, with the gradient dial. And that's interesting. I mean, I wonder if this was inspired by that watch. Is this sort of Seiko's answer to like a budget diver? If you have your eye on the James Cameron and maybe you don't want to spend that kind of money, or
Also, there is a big difference between 200-meter water resistor and 4,000-meter water resistor.
Well, that's true. And this is, honestly, this is a much more wearable watch, unless you really like that huge James Cameron watch. All right, so 120 click bezel, and look, I think the tactile aspects of a watch are really important. And as far as the
very satisfied, very quiet.
You think, all right, well, it is quiet, and I like that. But as far as, okay, here's what I feel. I feel ba-dunk, 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 ba-dunk. All right, and I'm gonna let you listen. This is very slow. Okay, so I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being incredibly satisfying, 1 being unsatisfying, I would say that this is probably about a 4, okay? It leaves a lot to be desired. Now, as far as it lining up, well, if you push it forward a little bit, you can kind of make it line up. If you draw it back, it's not lined up anymore. If you go forward, then it's not lined up anymore. So the fact that it doesn't line up, that I've got an issue with that. As far as
this is something that is very famous with Seiko.
Yeah, it
is.
Lineup,
including the Grand Seiko divers that also don't align sometimes.
Well, if Seiko is watching, let me just say, you guys might want to look into how you can remedy that, because to be infamous for it's probably not the best thing. All right, so unscrewing the crown feels good. Now I can keep doing it, and I think it's completely unscrewed. Okay, let me just push it forward a little bit. Okay, all right, so we're at the winding position. All right, it's got a nice wind, but let's give you guys a listen. I don't know if you can hear that. Oh, it's got a very zippy wind, but what I don't feel, and when I say zippy, oftentimes what I mean is when you turn it, it feels like gears are just spinning like crazy in there, and it gives it a sort of a zippy feeling. But this is different. It's not that. It's got high-pitched little clicks. And in that sense, it's sort of zippy, but I don't feel like as I turn it, even fast, I don't feel like they're there are gears just spinning like crazy. On some watches, you feel that. I would say this is a pretty quality wine. From 1 to 10, I would say this is about a 7.5. Pretty satisfying, but not as satisfying as other watches. All right, as far as hacking it. Okay, so 2 positions, very easy, came out nicely, and oh, that feels really pretty smooth. Okay, that's nice. Now let's line it up to the 5. Okay, you see it kind of moves around a little bit. So, hey, Rolexes do that too. But it's not what I would call a good thing. So, okay. All right, I would say it's right about as good as I can get it to the 5. Now I'm going to push it in and we'll see if it moves. Not at all. That's really good. All right, that's really important. So it's kind of hard to position, but once you do, when you push it in, the minute hand doesn't move, and that's really important. That's really nice. Again, a big complaint when it comes to Rolex watches, and you know, my Hydronauts, my Iconaut as well. And then you've got the first position, which does the date, I want to say. Yeah, there it goes. Okay. So nothing happens this way. Okay, it takes quite a. I was going to say it. No, that's. I was going to say it. You have to turn it quite a bit to change it, but that's pretty normal. Okay, and let's go all the way around to the date, which is the 20th today.
Yeah, and also for people that wonder that why you're doing that now and you didn't confirm if it's midnight or not, because you might break the movement. So the watch is update, and now it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and changing the date is okay.
Okay, yeah, and I was trusting that Marcelo, I know he had set all his watches, so I was hoping he had done that right. Now, it looks like the date is just a tad off center. It's a little high. But I will say that you've noticed that as well. Yeah. Okay. Now
and this is the 2 screw-up of Seikos, is the alignment of the date and the alignment of the bezel in the dial.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Now, as far as the date window, I like the fact that it's got that frame. That's kind of nice. And I'm sure the lume is very nice on here. It's got a Japanese movement, and as far as the hands go, pretty nice hands. I really like in fact, let's make those hands a little easier to see.
Yeah, lume is very good. One thing that it doesn't satisfy so much for me about the watch and concern is actually, as a diver piece, when you screw the crown in, you don't feel these nice feelings that you can feel, let's say, in the Rolex or maybe even in the Omega, a kind of this feeling of the gaskets that you actually,
okay,
you know, like you feel insurance with the rubbers.
All right, I'll give it a try in a minute. But as far as the hands go, minute hand, I like it a lot. This is a really nice looking minute hand, a lot of lume, and a lot of lume on the hour hand as well. I have issues with the hour hands on a lot of watches and a lot of Seikos. Some of them are kind of odd, but this one's not bad. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I don't have any issues with it. I don't dislike it at all. And it's got that little crack at the base, which aligns with the crack of the 12 indice, and you can already see the lume shining just in the shadow of my finger. So pretty amazing lume on here. And look at the second hand. Of course, it's got that green color, and it's got that shape, and I think we've seen that shape, I want to say, on the Willard, and there's another watch that Marcelo has, another Seiko, the Turtle, isn't it? The Turtle? All right, here it is. And this has sort of a similar shape, although it doesn't have the stoplight. So that's interesting. That must be a Seiko thing. All right, so let's screw down the crown. Okay, it's a little bit grindy. Okay, I don't feel it push up into any gasket, but it feels secure, and it feels like it would keep the water out. I would say, as far as the tactile qualities of this watch go, I would say from a 1 to 10, I'd give it about a 5. Even though the wind is pretty good, I might bump it up to 6 because the wind is pretty good. But as far as
I wouldn't trust 100% diving with this.
well,
I would trust to go swimming with it, but not diving.
I would trust it, but it doesn't have that tactile confirmation that I think is kind of important. I think there's a lot of lacking with the feeling of the bezel. I like the fact that it's got a glowing pip there, and it is a very attractive bezel, and I like the markers here right on the interior. That's really nice. It's you got that little bend in the aluminum, and that's nice. And look, it is aluminum, and you've got that nice aluminum texture. Again, nice font, nice markings. That's beautiful. My only issue really is just the tactile feeling of the watch. And look, I don't know how much this watch is. Don't tell me yet, Marcelo, but I would say, in my opinion, what does it cost? What is it worth? My guess is this is a $700 watch. I would say it's worth, honestly, probably a couple of $100, $300 at the most. And I say that because it doesn't feel any more solid than my Orient Blue Mako as far as screwing down the crown, maybe a tad more. And so that's why I would say it's worth $300. My guess is they charge $700 for it. What's the price, Marcelo?
Well, in one way, you were actually spot on in one way, because as Sumo watches used to be up to a couple of years ago, it was around 600 to 700. I think, I think around the 600. The thing is that they probably wanted more money, so they decide to change the arsenal, the crystal, to sapphire crystal, basically what they did in this watch. And by adding the sapphire crystal and by making this a little bit limited edition, even so it's not so much so, they pumped the price to $1,000.
Whoa. All right. So that's interesting. And look, I think Marcelo nailed it. I don't think it has to do with the crystal, but I think it has to do with the fact that it's 1,000 pieces. And I think what they did is they tacked on $300 to what I think should be, at the very most, a $600 or $700 watch. But I think they tacked it on because of the limited edition aspect of the watch. But as far as what I think the watch is actually worth, I would say $300. I mean, I don't know, that could be offensive to some people, but I'd have to see it on the bracelet. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about it. It's a beautiful watch. Would I pay $1,000 for it? No. Would I pay $500 for it? Probably not. But it's an attractive watch, and it could make a nice one watch. It could make for a nice travel watch. But at $1,000, I think is too expensive. Anyway, let me know what you think. Take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time.